It is said that there is no such thing as a routine contact in law enforcement. The same can be said on behalf of the public.
Then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb.
And no, I'm not talking about the floor either.
Nuts.
Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. Yep, that was a good movie. I enjoyed that. But there was something that bothered me watching the movie, and I understand the general premise of being caught in a time loop. The same thing day after day after day after day, but maybe that's exactly why I felt uncomfortable. And now I realize that at least one application of that discomfort is realizing just exactly the kind of Groundhog Day existence we as Americans live every day because of the police. Ask the average foreigner, what do you see in this picture? And I'm going to guess that the answer they give is going to be a lot different than the answer that the average American would give. The foreigner would probably start with something like this: well, they are crazy Americans, because only crazy Americans would gather in a field on a frigid February morning in Pennsylvania, waiting for a guy wearing a funny hat to lift aloft a terrified groundhog to see whether that terrified groundhog is going to see their shadow or not. Now, there's nothing to stop an American citizen from describing the photograph exactly like their foreign cousin. You know, like that's going to happen. Yeah, me and the boys, we drive down there every year out of Pittsburgh, don't we, boys? Well, that's right. We avoid that turnpike because I'll tell you what, that thing's a death trap if you ask me. Oh, don't forget, boys, fly, Eagles fly, and the Chiefs suck. Don't forget that for this coming Super Bowl. Now, the boys and me, we don't mind coming down and freezing our asses off in this field in Pennsylvania now, do we, boys? But I gotta be honest, there's another reason why the boys and I like coming down there every year. And don't tell me I'm lying either, boys. See, the boys and me got it figured out that the guy up there on the stage, the one wearing that funny hat, there ain't many men gonna stand up there in front of the world looking like an idiot holding a rodent in the air without being 3 sheets to the wind. Am I right, boys? So me and the boys, we got it figured out that sooner or later he's gonna drop that little rodent right on his head, right, boys? Well, sure. I mean, the boys and I agreed, didn't we, boys, that something like that was gonna happen. We'd rather be sitting up front watching history go down. Right along with that little rodent. I could have saved a lot of time and effort just by using one word to describe what I see in the picture. I see freedom. You have the freedom to do that as an American citizen. You have the freedom to do that as long as you're not breaking the law. I would bet that if you were to ask any one of those people in the picture whether they consider themselves to be a free American citizen, that they'd say, well, sure I am. I'm free. I'm an American citizen. I live in the freest country on the planet. Why would you ask? I'm not going to talk about freedom while denying somebody the freedom into their own opinion. But how about we compromise? You can think of yourself as free as long as you're paying attention to your surroundings. Remember what President Reagan said, that we're only one generation from losing all of our freedoms. To some of his detractors, those words might be seen as fear-mongering, to others hyperbole. I don't believe it's either one of those. I think they were simply words of caution spoken by a man who had studied history. One of the surest ways to kill off any Western nation is to deny the newest generation of citizens the information they need to go on to live a life as a civic-minded citizen of that nation. Just look at the numbers. The most recent estimate is only 22% of American students have even a proficient level of knowledge when it comes to American history and civics. No less than 2 generations of American school students have been exposed to this man's teachings. Which, good, bad, or indifferent, isn't the problem. The problem is if it's the only resource teachers are providing their students. Tyranny knows only one gear, and that gear is forward. Much like an alcoholic attending an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, the road to recovery begins with a confession. What good does it do to wage a war against tyranny if the people deny that it even exists? The same principle applies to the American people in the way they look at the police. Just like the ones who believe that the police can do no wrong are problematic. Those who do not apply a healthy dose of skepticism to police conduct. Those who view the police as though they're rock stars, who think the police are their friends, are problematic, or somehow have got it in their brains that the police can always be trusted. Every one of those things that I put on that list are problematic, but to whom are they the most problematic? It's me, it's you, it's every American who knows their rights, but is not willing to give them up to a random government worker. It's more than just being sufficiently appalled the way that the kowtowers bend their knee or expose their throat to the police. They demand that we expose our throat to the police as well, who call 911 at the drop of a hat and somehow manage to lie even though there's no crime involved. The police even have their own terms of endearment for these people. They're called job security. An example is Steve Doocy from Fox News, who once said that it's the duty of every American to respect the police. Steve, how about they respect us first? Americans are quick to label every first responder as a hero, and indeed, many are. But while we're waiting for them to perform that heroic deed, how about they just do their job well? We'll take up the hero status later on. So what the hell does any of this have to do with Groundhog Day? We're almost there, I promise. This is a short list of some of the more notorious atrocities perpetrated against the people by the United States government. As a quick side note, those who are actively agitating in this country to either diminish or repeal the Second Amendment, I look at them as traitors. I look at them as a threat to me and my existence, my health, safety, and welfare. In my estimation, anyone who advocates for taking guns, taking my car, tell me the kind of house I can live in, the kind of kitchen appliances I can use, even taking the ceiling fan off my ceiling, telling me what to eat and what to wear, how much energy I can consume, trying to tell me what I can read or what I can write or what I can watch, or what I can say even. I mean, police love that one. Remember, they also control us putting fingers up in the air, telling me that, nope, you can't hunt, nope, you can't fish. The days of Grandpa at the end of the dock with a cane pole and his grandson beside him, we're going to make sure those people end up in jail. We even have to accept their biological delusions. Wah! I'm a guy, I didn't realize I could have a baby. Nobody told me. They sound like they'd be staunch defenders of liberty. And we know they're not going to be able to implement the radical agenda on their own. They have to have a willing accomplice. Well, who's that going to be? That's going to be Big Brother government. That means more agents, more regulations, more ways to get jammed up by the government. A loss of freedom. These people don't care. Anyone who thinks they can take food off my plate under threat of force and violence is seriously mistaken. But there's an even greater threat. I'm talking about the Americans who look you in the eye and say it can't happen here, and then turn around and call you a conspiracy nut, or are you watching for black helicopters land in your backyard? And those very same people who say it can't happen here, these are the same people who couldn't wait to test out the government's new COVID snitch line. You know, just in case they saw some of the little neighborhood kids playing at a local park. And the ones that I want to slap the rest are the ones out in California who picked up the phone to report there were people out on the ocean. That's right, 10-4. We got a report of a guy who's not wearing a mask and he's out in the middle of the ocean. The police reaction to the COVID lockdown and all the edicts handed down by the government was a travesty. But an even bigger travesty is the number of American citizens who, knowing the facts behind this situation, would still say, good, he got what he deserved. But please, let's not lose sight of the real story. It's not this guy getting arrested for being on a beach and out on the ocean during the lockdown. It's the number of people who aren't on the beach, who obeyed Newsom's orders and stayed locked up in their homes. If you recall at the beginning of the video, I said that one picture depicted freedom. Well, this picture depicts the complete opposite. What you're seeing in the picture is the death of America, and how millions of Americans would look at that same picture and say, I don't see a problem. This is the Groundhog Day that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. How government and the police keep doing the same thing to the American people over and over and over and over. And how the American people keep complying over and over and over and over. There's only one thing that'll break this spell over the American people, and that is civil disobedience. I'm not talking about violence, I'm talking about civil disobedience. The same kind of civil disobedience that was used with such effectiveness by Martin Luther King Jr. and another civil rights icon, Rosa Parks. You see, Rosa's about to teach us all a lesson in civil disobedience. But make sure you stay to the end, because I'm going to also take on the auditor movement and show you how it's caught in its own Groundhog Day. Stay tuned, you're not going to be disappointed.